Okay, what's going on, everyone? We're officially live. This is the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. Welcome to another earnings stream. We got Broadcom reporting earnings. That's ticker symbol AVGO. And we got Lululemon reporting earnings, ticker symbol LULU. Let's see what time they're reporting. Broadcom, which is AVGO, reports at 4:15 p.m. Eastern. Lulu reports at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. So we'll get Lulu first, and then we'll get Broadcom. And as soon as we get the EPS and revenue and all that good stuff, I'll definitely let everyone know. Lulu, who reports at 4:05, their forecast EPS is $2.84. Forecast revenue is $2.54 billion. And they're trading just above 200. Lulu closed the regular session at $206.08 a share. Had a nice day, up almost 4% today. Now they're sitting here in after hours just waiting for the earnings reaction. So we got a few minutes to kill. So we'll get these earnings reactions. We'll get the EPS revenue, any guidance data. We'll find out what time their earnings web call is with the CEO and upper management. And then towards the end of the stream, I'll show everyone a new position I opened yesterday. And then we'll kind of go from there. What's up, bro, on Discord? Do you think Lulu is going to give us some insight into consumer sentiment? Maybe. We'll definitely see. For those that don't know Lulu, they're in the textiles and apparel industry. But they're a technical athletic apparel, footwear, and accessory company. Everyone's heard of Lulu, I would think. Lulu closed the regular session, $206.09. I'm going to go back here just for a sec. For AVGO, again, they report at 4:15 p.m. Eastern. Their forecast EPS is $1.67, and their forecast revenue is $15.8 billion. And they were trading just above $300. So they closed the regular session at $306.10, up a little over 1% today. Kind of a sloppy day for AVGO. Had a nice opening move, then sold off, then trended up a little bit and got pretty choppy towards the end of the day. So price action kind of a mess today on AVGO. All right, let's look at. We got a few more minutes before Lulu reports. Going into the earnings, Lulu had a PE ratio of 13.96, EPS of 14.76, 109 million float. And their income statement, they are a profitable company. They do have positive net income. Debt to asset 42%, so that's good. This is for Lulu. Let's see how much cash and equivalents they had. Lulu had, as of May 4th of this year, they had 1.3 billion in cash and equivalents. That's a pretty solid cash position. Let's see what AVGO, just real quick. We'll just look at the income statement real quick, but their PE pretty high at 115. But AVGO is semiconductor company, of course. Shy, I am not on YouTube. Give you a shout out. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Do these streams every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But for AVGO, they're also a profitable company. 3 quarters back-to-back profitability, positive net income. And it's a lot of income. They're pulling in 4 to 5 billion per quarter, past 3 quarters in positive net income. So just a monster company here. Debt to asset only 57%. Good debt to asset on both these companies. AVGO is sitting on almost $10 billion cash and equivalents. Look at that. Huge cash and equivalent position. All right, let's go to the sticks here. Look at Lulu. As soon as I got done talking about that, Lulu starts selling off. Down 10%. Down $20 a share, folks. So again, we're getting the Lulu reaction right now. AVGO is not till 4:15 p.m. Eastern, so we got about 10 more minutes on AVGO. But let's watch Lulu. I'm gonna go to TradingView. Quite the selling candle here. This is a 5-minute candle, down just under 11%. Okay, now it is down 11%. Let's see if I can get the data for everyone. It's 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Some people on X were taking puts on Lulu before the close. Looks like those are going to work out. It's looking like it might be a grats to the Lulu Bears. If anyone grabbed puts on those. I got their earnings data right here. Just move this over. So EPS, again, the forecast was 2.86. They just reported 3.10. So they beat that. They missed revenue just by a little bit. Forecast revenue for Lulu, 2.5 billion. 2.54 billion. They reported 2.52 billion, so just barely missed. But investors aren't liking the other data that's come out. It's probably guidance related, but EPS was down year over year. Revenue was up year over year. Quarter over quarter, they were green. Sad boy on X. Thank you for reposting the stream for me. All right, let me move this over. Let's get some more data on this because something's up. Yeah, it's probably guidance related. Probably the remainder of Q3 guidance they adjusted downwards, or possibly 2026 guidance downwards, or maybe the rest of the fiscal year this year was lowered as far as the guidance goes. Okay, got some commentary from the CEO. Let's just go over this real quick. Calvin McDonald, he's the CEO for Lulu. While we continued to see positive momentum overall in our international regions in the second quarter, we are disappointed. Okay, here we go. That's why I always like to get the commentary from the CEO and stuff, because sometimes they'll just come out, rip the Band-Aid off, and say what the problem is. So he says, while we continued to see positive momentum overall in our international regions in the second quarter, we are disappointed with our U.S. business results and aspects of our product execution. We have closely assessed the drivers of our underperformance and are continuing to take the necessary actions to strengthen our merchandise mix and accelerate our business. We feel confident in the opportunity ahead and plans we have in place to drive long-term growth. So obviously there's a big issue with their U.S. business, and he's just coming out straight up and saying he's very disappointed in it. You know, I know it's getting a negative reaction and the bulls aren't liking this too much, but I'd rather a CEO just come out and say what the problem is. Sometimes we get these earnings and basically in their commentary, they try and sugarcoat things. They try and, avoid talking about what the problems are, and they just focus on the positive things when they do the commentary. I can see right through that crap, but even though it's getting a negative reaction, I got much respect for the Lulu CEO just coming out and saying what the problem is. Their U.S. business, they're very disappointed in the Geoff Lovelace on YouTube. Need some Sydney Sweeney, right? Maybe that'll help the stock. That's funny. Gave me a good chuckle there, Geoff. But, I got much respect for this Calvin McDonald guy, this CEO of Lulu. Just coming out, saying exactly what the deal is and not trying to beat around the bush or blow smoke. They got big problems with the U.S. business. So that's what's going on with Lulu. I do got some commentary from the CFO. Let's see what she says. Her name's Megan Frank. She says in the second quarter, we exceeded expectations on EPS, but revenue fell short of our guidance, driven predominantly by our U.S. business. So CFO is blaming everything on the U.S. business as well. So at least they got a united front on what the problem is. Then Megan, the CFO, goes on to say, we're also navigating industry-wide challenges, including higher tariff rates. In light of these dynamics, we are revising our full-year outlook. Okay, so they adjusted the full-year outlook guidance downwards. Not what investors want to see at all. So they revised their full-year outlook based on disappointing U.S. business results. Megan, the CFO, also says, as we begin the back half of the year, our brand and balance sheet remains strong, which it is. We were looking at the balance sheet just a little bit ago. They got a ton of cash. I think it was, what was it, almost, let's go back and see real quick how much. Yeah, they had over $1 billion as of May 4th. It's pretty good cash position. And she says, so they revised the full year outlook for the guidance. And she says, as we begin the back half of the year, our brand and balance sheet remain strong, and we will continue to exercise financial discipline and strategically invest in our growth potential. So yeah, not good data from Lulu regarding the U.S. business part of their business, and still trying to find the bottom. I'll go back to TradingView. Yair on YouTube asked, do you think it's just smart to buy AVGO right now? I mean, let's be real. I mean, they are a profitable company. They got positive PE, positive EPS. They got plenty of cash. I mean, I still think it's a good, profitable company. For me personally, not financial advice. If I was interested in buying this dip, just want to wait for the selling to stop. At least for the selling to slow down a little bit. Maybe you could DCA into it over time, but again, just my personal opinion, this is a nice dip here. It's down $26 a share. I personally would wait for some, the bottom to come in, and you can kind of tell when that happens, when it starts printing some higher lows and we start getting some green candles printing. But right now, it's still kind of struggling down here. It just made a new higher low in after hours, so that the bottom's not in. So you don't want to catch a falling knife, as the saying goes, right? So I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of the reversal to just get some added confirmation that the bottom's in. That's just me and what I would do. And I do that a lot sometimes, before I buy a dip. Instead of trying to be contrarian where you're trying to front run a reversal or something like that, maybe just wait a little bit, and you might have to sacrifice a little bit of the reversal move, but in exchange for that patience, there'll be more of a chance that you caught the bottom. And if you don't wait for the higher lows, then you're not going to catch the bottom, and then your first entry is going to go against you. So that's just me, and it hasn't started making higher lows yet. So like I say, it's down 26 a share, so I want to see this retrace a few levels before I would consider dip buying this. Let's see if it potentially double bottom bounces here. I mean, we got the wick right here that printed at 4:06 p.m. Eastern, came back to that level, formed a slight lower low. There are some green candles printing right now, but let's kind of see what kind of levels we're working with here. Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't even consider dip buying this until it gets back above 185. That's a 25% retrace. If it comes up to this 25% and gets rejected, this could be a dead cat bounce, and it's going to go lower. So that's why that 25% retrace is pretty important. You want to be careful dip buying before that level gets reclaimed. And I'm going to put that level right at 185. So my confidence that it will retrace and reverse would be a little bit higher once 85 gets reclaimed, but it hasn't done that yet. So right now it's just kind of a waiting game to see if this bottom is going to come in. And once these levels start retracing, like I say, I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of the reversal and make sure some of these levels get reclaimed, and then I'd feel more comfortable buying the dip. So got some fib levels on Lulu right now. Yair on YouTube was talking about AVGO. Do you think it's smart to buy AVGO right now? I mean, me personally, no. I mean, I personally try not to trade through earnings announcements. It's just a lot. It's really risky. These things can literally be a coin toss. You're kind of gambling if you know. I personally like to play the post reactions. So, for example, I'll watch the earnings reactions to, the reaction to the stock price. If it gets a negative reaction, fine. I'm not currently in the position. I can be patient. Again, wait for the higher lows to start printing, sacrifice a little bit of the reversal move to have more confidence that it is going to reverse. And then, yeah, I'd feel comfortable buying it. If AVGO is getting a positive reaction now. So if the earnings reaction is positive, I kind of do something similar where, okay, great, it's a positive reaction. I don't feel like I've really missed out on it because it's always going to come back for a retest at some point and take a breather at some point. So if it's a positive reaction, I'll wait on a pullback and then I would consider entering there. So it's all about timing. Timing is real important with these things, and waiting for a retest, I think, is a smart move. But I personally don't trade much through earnings announcements. If I have an open position in a stock that I don't want to sell and I have to hold it through an earnings announcement, I'll put some protective measures in place, like sell a call and use that money to buy a protective put. Or you could just sell a covered call and have a little bit of downside protection with the credit you receive just with the covered call premium. And there's different things you can do to protect yourself going through the earnings. But we just never know. No one knows the future. If they tell you they do, they're full of it. Okay. I like to play the price action and the reaction. And look at AVGO right now. I mean, it initially came all the way down to 298. Then it came all the way up to 314. Then it came all the way back down to 301. I mean, for me personally, I don't like trading in that crap. I mean, that's just, when I trade, I like to be as less stressful and less emotional as I possibly can. And could you imagine opening a position on AVGO right now during their earnings reaction and the amount of emotional roller coaster that would put you through? Down to 298, up to 314, back down to 300. Now it's kind of up right here, 305. I mean, just kind of all over the place. Forrest L, am I going to listen to the Lulu earnings call? Let me go back to Lulu real quick. I'm probably not going to stream the earnings Lulu call because it's probably not going to be going down until like 5 p.m. Eastern. Could be 4:30 though. That's a good point. I appreciate you, Forrest, on YouTube. Let me pull up the investor relations page and find out when the earnings call is. Now, I'll give everyone a link that'll take you to the earnings web call as well, so you don't have to hunt for it. But let me just scroll down here on my other screen. Okay, here's investor relations for Lulu. Lulu's still trying to find the bottom here. It keeps testing this 177 level. It's like 177 and some change, right below 178, probably what I'd call it. But Lulu, this is straight from their investor relations page. You can see right here. Let me just scroll down a little bit more real quick. Okay. Nope, that was from before. So I'm going to click on this event right here. Let me just go to all events. It's fine. Okay, so here it is here. Let me see if they give me a time. More details. Okay, right here. Listen to webcast. Let's find out if we can find out what time this is. Okay, it's at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So Forrest on YouTube, it's in about 10 minutes. They're going to have that earnings web call in 10 minutes. Let me post the link to this. And that way you can, if you want to go listen to the earnings web call, you have the link for you right here. I'll put it on the bottom of my screen. You can screenshot it. There you go. So that link right there will take you right to the earnings web call. When you get to that link, just scroll down where it says events. And then you can just kind of click on all events there. And then it's right here, more details and listen to webcasts. They got a nice little hyperlink right there. Click on that. They'll have you fill out a little form with your name and email. Don't worry, they're not going to spam you. They're just trying to they're probably just trying to figure out how many people are going to attend the earnings web call. So, and you know, if you're an investor, maybe you want to be part of their email list. But yeah, that'll take you to Lululemon's earnings web call, which is going down again at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So about 9 more minutes for that. Okay. I'll leave that on my screen for a little bit because I know a lot of people are here for Lulu. There's probably a lot of people here for AVGO as well. It's almost 2,000 people tuning in. Welcome to the stream, everybody. My name is The Swinging Bull on the Discord. My real name is Benjamin. Most people call me Ben. It's good to see everybody. All right, let me see if I can get I want to post the EPS and revenue in the comments as well for everybody. Give me 1 second and I will post that. Okay. There we go. So they beat EPS, but they missed revenue. Okay, that's for Lulu. Who said that comment about Sydney Sweeney earlier? My buddy Geoff Lovelace on YouTube. There's people all over X making memes that Lulu needs to start using Sydney Sweeney. You were spot on with that joke, brother. And let me just look at the weekly chart on Lulu real quick. All right, just something to keep in mind. Lulu just hit a 6-year low. I hope y'all know that. Look at that. It was trading at 179, a little above 179 in the post market here. It has not been at this level since 2020, excuse me, 2020. So yeah, it's been almost 6 years since they've been trading at that level. So Lululemon just hit a 6-year low. Is this going to be a dip buy? Well, like I say, wait for the bottom to come in and you'll thank me later. And I said this before, I'll say it again. I'm more than willing to sacrifice a little, some of the reversal move. I'll sacrifice 25% of the reversal move, sometimes more. I'll sacrifice half the reversal move just to make sure that the bottom's in. Because if you think the bottom's in and you try and dip buy and the bottom ends up not being in, you're going to be in trouble. All right. Let me just look at a few other things. Okay. Lulu, also some other info here. When they released the press release for the earnings just now, they did not provide a multi-year outlook. It was not mentioned. But we already went over a lot of the data, and they did reduce the guidance. We were talking about that earlier. They reduced the guidance. They had to revise the fiscal year outlook downwards. And that's a good question. There's another question over here. Wondering, is consumer spending finally starting to give? That's a good question. Someone asked that. My buddy Ro on the Discord asked that. Is it going to give us some insight into consumer sentiment? Yeah, there you go. The CEO and CFO says the U.S. business statistics, if you will, are are very disappointing. It seems like consumers aren't spending as much. So there's a little bit of insight for you there, Ro. You had asked about that earlier. And again, I think the main thing is they had to revise the full year outlook downwards. And then, of course, the main thing is the disappointment in the U.S. business data. So we know what's going on with Lulu. Not good earnings. I do think Lulu is still a good company. They're still a profitable company. We went over this earlier. They got a decent sized cash position. I think they'll be fine. So this definitely could be looked at as a discount moving forward. But again, you got to be strategic about these dip buys, so you don't get hurt. Yeah, EPS for Lulu. EPS was good. They had actually a really nice beat on EPS. But as a company like Lulu, I think investors are more concerned about the revenue. And they did miss the revenue a little bit, but more so them reducing the revenue guidance down is just what the investors are not liking at all right now. Yeah, exactly. William on YouTube, the disappointment that the CEO and CFO are expressing in the U.S. Business sales is that's what the problem is. Let me go to AVGO just real quick because I know a lot of people are here for AVGO. Let's see what happened with them because they're kind of flat. I mean, they had a real volatile. Someone was asking on YouTube earlier if they should buy AVGO right now, and I'm not participating in this crap. I said right when the data came out, they wicked down at below 300. Then went up to 314, then came back down to 300. Now coming back a little bit, just kind of indecision and sloppy price action. That's not something I would personally participate in. Let's take a look at some other things. For AVGO, my buddy Shai Balor on X posted some great info for us. Go follow Shai Balor on X if you haven't already. That man knows what he's doing. Okay, there's the AVGO sales and EPS data. So the sales came in at 15.95 billion, and the estimate on the sales was 15.8 billion. So they beat sales revenue. The EPS came in at $1.69 versus the forecast of $1.66. So they beat EPS. Big line item for AVGO was the AI sales. They reported 5.2 billion. The estimate was 5.1 billion. I just want to look at something on Lulu. For anyone listening that had a long position and held it through the earnings and didn't do anything about it, you just kind of hoping and praying, you got to start protecting yourself a little bit better if the shoe fits on that one. I talk about this all the time, but you could have easily put a collar on this. You could have sold a covered call and then used that credit to buy a naked put option to protect your downside through intrinsic value at that strike price. You wouldn't have participated in any of this downside below 205. That's something moving forward. If you were long on Lulu and you didn't do anything, you're just sitting on the sidelines while you have an open position and you're going into an earnings catalyst and you didn't do anything about it, tisk. Moving forward, you got to protect your money more. Slap a collar on it. I mean, at least put, you could have at least sold, even if you didn't buy the naked put, you could have sold a 210 covered call assuming you had 100 shares. You could have pocketed $1,000 in credit on that, and that would have gave you $10 in downside cushion. That would have helped. Me personally, I just take the credit and buy a naked put, and then I'm fully protected. So just a couple tips, but I'm not quite sure the bottom's in for Lulu yet. Keep your eye on it. I mean, it is kind of trading sideways a little bit now, so maybe it's getting close to a bottom coming in. But I said this before. Look, if you're long on Lulu, it's going to be okay. All right, the company's not going bankrupt. All right, they're a nice and profitable company. We were looking at the income statement earlier. I mean, go to the annual basis. 5 years in a row, back to back, in positive net income. Lulu's going to be just fine. I would think that this definitely could be a dip buy and a nice discount on the stock. RSI on the 1 minute is finally back above 30, so maybe it's on to something here. But again, I'm not going to be confident that the bottom's in until it gets back above 185. It's still about 6 points below that right now, so. There are some buyers taking little nibbles down here at the bottom, though. You can see some of these green candles printing. So it's something. The selling has at least slowed down, so that's good. Yeah, William on YouTube. That's kind of the level I'm looking at. Like, if it can get back above 185, we're probably on to something here. So could have been maybe an overreaction, but to be honest with you, I don't know if it was an overreaction because, you know, the disappointing U.S. business sales data, it just killed them. And so I'm not, you know, quite sure how quick it's going to bounce back and reverse, but investors are might need a little bit of time to digest all this. You know, I'm a little back and forth on this one because of the bad U.S. data, the U.S. business data, but overall, you know, outside of that, still a profitable company. Their fundamentals are still sound. But we were talking about this earlier, you know, about my buddy Ro on Discord was asking if it's going to give us some insight into consumer sentiment, consumer spending, and stuff like that. And it sure did. It's a negative sentiment. Yeah. And Martin on YouTube, great point. The tariffs, you know, definitely the tariffs. Definitely hurting them. It's going to be the U.S. Business sales revenue. It was disappointing, is what they were saying. Let's look at a few more things. Now, AVGO. Let me come back up here real quick. Finish with AVGO. AVGO is kind of sitting flat here. It's trading basically where it closed the regular session at. I'm surprised it's not getting more of a positive reaction because they did increase Q4 guidance. The estimate on that was 17 billion. They raised it to 17.4, and they raised the AI sales guidance for Q4 to 6.2 billion. The estimate on that was 5.8 billion. So for some reason, it's not catching a bid though, but it's not really selling off either. So kind of a nothing burger so far. Yeah, F or EF on YouTube. I was just thinking that, you know, no movement is better than negative movement. Yeah, absolutely 100% agree. You know, I was talking about this in the Discord with some of the members the other day. It kind of reminds me of, we were talking about stopping out of a trade at break even. Like how some people don't like that. You know, I've been trading long enough to know I'll take 10 break-even trades over one losing trade any day, you know, and that's just how I roll. So it kind of reminds me of that, with like the price is flat. Not a bad thing because it's not selling off either. So EF on YouTube, I totally agree with you. Lulu's still trying to form a bottom here. Let me go back to trading view. Lulu's still trying to form a bottom. It kind of looks like the bottom might be in the high 170s, around 177. But again, I'd really want this to get above 185 before my confidence on this is going to grow some. Okay, William says it looks like the price keeps jumping to 200. That's probably a glitch, maybe on Webull or something. I see that sometimes on Webull. I don't know what time frame you're looking at, but I'm not seeing that on my end. But I have seen that before where you'll see the price kind of wick up, crazy wick up randomly. Those are usually just glitches. But let's keep our eyes. So support level number 1 on Lulu, very easy. After hours low, 177.50. That's where I'm going to put that. S1. Resistance 1 on Lulu. Let me see if I had a different level on there. Yeah, resistance number 1 on Lulu is that 185 level. I just kind of round it there, but it's 185. And then I'd say we could just use the fib level. So 185, then 188.50, and then 192. That'd be 3 easy resistance levels to keep your eye on. If those levels start getting reclaimed, then maybe it was an overreaction. Usually, if it retraces back up real quickly, it's typically an overreaction. But this thing sold off. Bad U.S. business sales data on the U.S. side. And it's kind of just hanging out here around 180. But it does look like there's some buyers taking little nibbles down here. RSI is trending back up. It's a 1-minute chart, but RSI is at 41 now. So it is getting a bit stronger. Keep your eyes on it. AVGO. Let's see here. Oh, okay, William. On Robinhood, you're seeing those kind of glitchy wicks. Yeah, I usually see. I don't trade on Robinhood, but I hear people say sometimes they see some weird things on there, and I do see it on Webull every now and then. And like I'll show you one on what was it on QQQ. I don't know if anyone saw this morning that TradingView had a huge ugly wick on it, and it was messing my chart up. Now it's disappeared, so it was a glitch. SPY and QQQ just off to the races today. Let's see here. Yeah, Lulu, it's coming back down to test after hours low right now. It's trading just below 179. After hours low, 177.42. Webull says it's 177.33. I'll go with what Webull's saying. 177.33. Support level number 1. It's just trading $2 above that right now. So let's see if it comes down and tests that and bounces. It did back here a few times. And this is exactly why we wait for some of these levels to get reclaimed before dip buying these, because I was just saying earlier, like, oh look, it's trading sideways, the bottom might be in. Yeah, it might be in, but it's looking like it might not be in, right? So that's all fine and dandy. It's trading sideways, but the first level that needs to be broken is the 25%, 185. If this can't get back above 185, the chances of it, reversing is probably pretty small. Look at that. It bounced right off my EMAs here. I used the 9 and the 21 EMA. And yep, just made a new after hours low. So this is exactly why we wait. This is exactly why I like I'm willing to sacrifice some of the reversal move to have more confidence that the bottom is in. And yeah, EF on YouTube. Absolutely. When they do the earnings web call, which is actually going on right now. Didn't we already get that info? Let me just scroll up a little bit. Got a lot of comments on today's stream. Let me see. Yeah, their earnings web call is going on right now. So let's see if they say anything during the web call. I'm personally not streaming that web call, but I'll post the link again if anyone wants to jump in it. There's the link to the Lulu Lululemon earnings web call that's going on right now. It started 10 minutes ago, so I'm not quite sure what they're saying. But maybe this selling here had something to do with what they were saying. Maybe the CEO and CFO were talking about the disappointing U.S. business sales data again, and maybe that's why that happened. But we'll see. So again, please be careful with Lulu trying to buy this dip. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but me personally, I always going to wait for some of these levels to get reclaimed, which in turn means I'm sacrificing some of the reversal move just to give me an edge. Like that's what trading is. You're trying to get an edge here. If you're just jumping in, shooting at from the hip, that's not really an edge, is it? Okay. AVGO starting to get some buying. AVGO's earnings were not bad, in my opinion. And they raised the Q4 guidance was increased on sales and AI sales, and the margin. And they beat revenue, and they beat so AVGO had a double beat sales and sales revenue and EPS, and they raised Q4 guidance. You know, this is obviously out of the two doing better. The one that's doing better, LC on YouTube. Exactly. Yeah, I think AVGO is just fine. It's going to be fine. I see positive data all around on AVGO. It's just not catching a bid. You know, was it a bit overvalued maybe going into the earnings? Maybe. You know, maybe that's why it's not catching a bid. What's their all-time high at? It's right here. They just hit all-time high a few weeks ago. Let's see. Oops. Yeah. About 4 weeks ago, they hit all-time high, 317.35. So, you know, they're kind of trading at all-time highs going into the earnings. Overall, I think AVGO is a good bet. Earnings were solid. And they increased guidance. I love it. Good stuff. And again, for Lulu, again, just, you know, if you were long on this before the earnings and you didn't do anything about it, here's your wake-up call, okay? The market only needs to smack you around a few times for you know, to get the point here. And if you're going into these earnings calls and you're long on the stock and you're not doing anything about it, you know, we should probably have a little side conversation and see if I can help you with that, because there are definitely ways to protect yourself. That's what I do in the Discord. I come up with creative ways to protect positions. I come up with creative ways to trade multi-leg options. I write a lot of contracts. Most of my trades are sell to open. I love being on the selling side of the transaction, of the opening transaction. If you've ever been curious about writing contracts, join the Discord, tag me in the chat, and I'll come talk to you. I'll show you how to write these contracts. I've been doing it for years. Writing contracts has been the most consistent and profitable strategy I've ever traded over the years, you know, by far. Of course, there's people that trade naked options and day trade that do very well. The majority of the people don't do well day trading. You know, it's a small percentage of people that do really well at it. And hey, I'm not knocking it. You know, if you want to day trade, go day trade. Most of my trades are swing trades, and most of my trades, I'm on the selling side of the transaction when I open it. That's just where my comfort zone is. That's where I like being. And then that's just been the most consistent strategy over the years, is writing contracts. That's what I do. That's what I specialize in. So it's about 4:45 p.m. Let me see when AVGO's earnings web call is real quick. Lululemon's web call is going on right now. AVGO. I think maybe investors are waiting for that earnings web call to decide what they're going to do with this thing. But just from a bird's eye view, AVGO had good earnings and they increased guidance. So I'm not quite sure what the hesitation is here on the price. We'll find out. Okay, so AVGO's earnings web call is at 5 p.m. Eastern. So only 15 more minutes for them. Here, I'm going to put their link in the comments too. I know a lot of people here probably want to see that AVGO earnings web call. There's the link for AVGO. That'll take you right to the earnings web call. As soon as you get there, it's right on their homepage. Just scroll down a little bit. You can see it right here. I was just on it. Right here, okay? There's a hyperlink and everything. Q3-2025 Broadcom earnings conference call. September 4th, which is today at 5 p.m. Eastern. You just click on that. I'll take you right to it. It starts in 15 minutes. All right, let me share an open position. Let me share an open position I just opened up. Got a little bit of green on the table. It's nothing special. It's not. I'm not going to make a ton of money on this, but it's just easy money. And here, I'll just pull this over here. So this is a Ford trade I opened up, and I actually sold some cash secured puts on it. So I'm going to be running the wheel on this. Okay, I'm going to be running the wheel on this. I actually just closed down a previous wheel on this, and I made a 10% return on my capital while remaining relatively safe. I collected the dividend. I was selling cash secured puts, collected income on that. Then right before the ex-div date of their last dividend, I put the cash secured puts on hold, and I basically forcefully assigned myself by just converting it to a buy plus right strategy. So I bought shares right before their ex-div date. So I was owner of record on their ex-div date. And then I started selling covered calls. So I was collecting income. So I was collecting income on the cash secured put side. I did like 3-4 rounds of cash secured puts before I decided to buy shares before the ex-div date. And then I started selling covered calls. I started getting income there. So that's a second. So that's kind of double income. And then I just got paid the dividend this past Tuesday was their dividend actual payout. The ex-div date was August 11th, but I just got the money for the dividend on Tuesday. My shares ended up getting called away last Friday, but I still got the dividend. That's because I was owner of record when the ex-div date rolled around. So I didn't even have the shares anymore, and I still got the dividend, so that was cool. So now I'm re-entering. I'm just attacking the 1150 strike right now. I'm doing 2 lot size. Collected almost $35 in credit. That's fine. Like I say, the last wheel I did on this, I brought in. I know it's not going to impress many people because it's not like a ton of money, but I ended up making $208 profit. I was using 2246 in buying power, so I got 9.2% return on my money on the last wheel. And I wheeled it for about 3 months. So look at it this way. If I can get 9.2% return on my money in 1 quarter, and I do it consistently all year, well, there's 4 quarters in a year, that'd be a 37% annualized return over a year. Boom. I just hit my goal. My goal is to beat the S&P annual average return by 3x or more. Just wheeling forward all year, you can beat the S&P by 3x. Everyone in the Discord, I proved it to them. When I do my live streams in the Discord, I show my Fidelity account. I show my open positions. I'm not just alerting shit and not actually in the trade like some of these other Discords. They just spitting out alerts and they're not even really trading it themselves. When I give plays out, not financial advice, but for entertainment and educational purposes, when I give my trades out on the Discord, I'm actually in the trade, okay? I have skin in the game. I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's ass. I'm not beating around the bush. I'm not sugarcoating anything. It's as transparent as I can be. And if you wheel forward all year, you could beat the S&P by 3x. Easy. I've already proved it, and I got receipts. All right. So I'm willing it again because my shares just got called away last Friday, and now I'm just kind of rinse and repeating. I also did a spread on SPY, a put credit spread on SPY, and I ended up taking early profit on it. I could have made a lot more money on it, but let me just kind of show what the trade looked like. So here, I'll move this over. So this was a put credit spread. The slang term is a bull put spread, but it is a technical term, put credit spread. And I opened this up on Tuesday, and I sold to open the 639 put, and then I bought to open the 638 put to form a $1 wide spread. So each spread has a value of $100. I collected $37 credit on the onset of the trade when I opened it. Anytime you're receiving a credit, overall you're technically selling to open, even though one of the legs is buy to open. That's okay, but the value of the one we sold to open was more than the one we bought to open. So overall, you're receiving a credit. So this was a credit spread, and it pays. If you're receiving a $37 credit on, and I usually do a handful of these, but if you're receiving a $37 credit and the $1 wide spread is worth 100, you're getting a 37% return on your capital, aren't you? That's a good return. Dan Elton, good stock for the wheel since it's cheap. Absolutely. If you're referring to Ford, I love trading Ford. And if you're new to the wheel strategy or you're new to writing contracts, Ford is a great starter stock to kind of get your feet wet. And you have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun writing contracts. I think that's what blew my mind, like years and years ago when I started doing this. I just didn't think, because, think of the rat race, trying to day trade and how stressful and all that crap. And the way I trade, I don't think there's much stress involved. Like, I actually have a lot of fun with it. But Dan on YouTube, absolutely agree. If you are referring to Ford, great stock to get your feet wet. If you've ever been interested in writing contracts, started on Ford. It's usually really stable, usually trades from around the $10, $12 area, around there, and it's just the easy trade. So anyways, this put credit spread on SPY opened up on Tuesday. Woke up this morning, and it was nice and profitable. And this ended up being a slam dunk trade. So this was a 37% return on capital. Yes, the expiration date is September 19th. So obviously we didn't have the full 37 on the table, but it was nice and profitable. We got a big chunk of that credit. I actually closed mine out this morning or earlier today, pardon me, for some decent profit. And these are the kind of trades that I do. I trade a lot of spreads. But mainly I'm a contract writer. That's my bread and butter. Look at Lulu, still trying to find the bottom. It just made another after hours low, 176.07. Let me look at the bigger time frame. Shai Balor had mentioned on X earlier that Lulu's at a 6-year low. Yeah, it hasn't been this low since 2020 when COVID was announced. So Lulu's at a 6-year low. When this does bottom out, I think this is going to be a sweet dip buy because Lulu's going to be just fine. Again, they're a profitable company. Yeah, the U.S. Business data for the sales is disappointing, and that came right out of the horse's mouth. The CEO and CFO said that. We will be fine. We will recover. Lulu will be just fine. Dan on YouTube says, yeah, I love selling puts and bull credit spreads. Me too, man. That's like one of my favorite trades. And absolutely, you can control risk easier. Yeah, 85% probability of profit or higher. Yeah, I love that. They give you a nice win rate there on those. The spread I opened up on Tuesday, it was we call it pop, percentage of profit. The pop was like over 50% on it. It was an aggressive trade. The thesis behind the trade, to be honest with you, I'll show you what it was, why I decided to do it. So you could just simply go on the daily chart on SPY. I'll make it nice and big so everyone can see. After the 20% market correction that we experienced from February into April, after that got out of the way and the market reversed, just looking at price action from when the market correction ended to present, I used the 9 and 21 EMA. You could see my green 21 EMA had gotten threatened a handful of times leading up to when I opened this trade. But every time it's come down to this 21 EMA, that EMA got threatened, it always recovered very, very quickly. It happened like 4 times. Even this time, it broke below the 21 EMA. Recovered very quickly the next day. So kind of a pattern going on since that 20% market correction ended. So we got like 4 or 5 tests of the EMA, and every single time it recovered quickly. Was there a chance that it didn't do the same thing? Of course. But I'm just trying to find a pattern to give us a guide. And that's exactly what happened. The price came down. The buyers ended up closing green. That was another reason why I felt good about entering it, because instead of it being red and closing at the bottom like it did back here, we breached below the 21 EMA, and you can see that got bought up and it closed green. So we opened up the spread trade 2 days ago, and nice and beautiful trade, easy peasy, no problem. So this is kind of the types of trades that I do as far as the spread goes. Of course, when I write contracts, I mainly do them on stocks I don't mind owning. That's very important if you're interested in starting to wheel stuff. It's got to be a stock you don't mind owning, because you might be holding it for a few months if you see some drawdown. But that's okay. We'll wheel ourselves out of it on the covered call side. And then even if the premium on the covered call side dries up, hopefully you saved a little bit of extra capital on the side, and then you can deploy cash secured puts at a lower strike. So you can try and get as much premium as you can on the covered call side, even if it dries up a little bit. But then you can deploy some more cash secured puts at a lower strike. And what you're doing at that point is forming what we call a short strangle. A short strangle is selling covered calls above the price and cash secured puts below the price. You're kind of sandwiching the underlying stock price in the middle, and then you have a little double income strategy going on. And if the stock pays a dividend, now you've just morphed it into a triple income strategy. And those are the types of trades that I like doing. Dan asked, did I try and trade the AVGO earnings? No, I typically don't trade through the earnings. Usually when I have before, when I do trade through earnings, the trades I like doing is if the expectation is a big move, like if we're expecting a big move, like the implied move is big, what I like to do is what I call inverse iron condor. So it's not your traditional iron condor where you have a credit spread on both sides of the price and you want the underlying stock price to stay in the middle. The inverse iron condor is basically a long iron condor. Instead of collecting a credit, you're going to pay a debit for it. But that's when we're expecting a big move, because an inverse iron condor or a long iron condor, we can win 2 ways. If the stock goes to the moon, we win. If the stock burns to the ground, we win. Of course, it's not risk-free. There's always risk. The risk with an inverse iron condor is if the stock price stays flat. That's where the risk is. Okay, so it's like the opposite of a traditional iron condor. Those are the trades I like doing for earnings when there's a big expected move. Other than that, I don't really trade through earnings much, because it's gambling. You're gambling if you're doing that. So I personally don't do that. I guess you could do a lotto ticket. We do lottos. That's just 0 or hero. It's fun money. Buy a cheap out of the money option, and if there's a big move in your favor, you're good. But that's just fun money. It's not my hard-earned money that I care about. So maybe that clarifies, like, what is it that I do as far as when earnings are coming up, and do I trade through them? Well, again, just to summarize, if there's a big move expected, I'll do a inverse iron condor. That I usually do really well on those. Or I'll just buy a scratch off ticket lotto, out of the money option for cheap. And if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, hey, it was a scratch off ticket. And then that way there's no stress, no emotion, so I don't like being stressed out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, Dan. Yep. So you thinking just like me. I usually avoid the earnings, especially when I'm doing the wheel. If I'm selling cash secured puts on a stock and their earnings are coming out or coming up, I'll put those on hold and just wait until after the earnings. I just wait until after the earnings. I'm not trying to deliberately put myself through a stressful situation. So folks, especially the newer traders out there, you got to start protecting yourself, or you're not gonna survive for long. And I want to see everyone succeed. And if there's something I say or do that helps you, or even just confirm something you were already thinking to kind of shorten the learning curve for someone, I've done my deed for the day, and that I love it. Nathan says, do you really think Lulu will turn around? I think eventually, yes. Consumer spending in the past has known to be very, very resilient. Are they, is there some negative connotation to consumer sentiment right now with Lulu? Yes. The CEO and CFO had no problem being upfront with that in their commentary. So I think, short term, they're taking a hit right now. There's probably going to need to be more data come out as far as consumer spending and stuff like that, as far as economic reports that come out every week and stuff like that. So look for some signs of consumer spending to kind of rebound a little bit, and the retailers are gonna go right with, they're gonna recover just fine. Oh, Paul Poco, excuse me, on YouTube. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah, I do these streams every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I try and make it fun. I'm not here to sell anything to anyone. I mean, I do have links in the description. If you're interested in going further with our group, of course, there's some things you can sign up for. But when I do these streams, it's I just want to hang out with everyone, have fun. We go over the earnings reaction. Well, we view the earnings reactions live. We go over any EPS, revenue data, any guidance I can find, any commentary from the CEO. I show everyone when and where the earnings calls are, and provide links for all that. And then usually at the end of the stream, I go over my personal trades, that I'm actively trading, maybe even throwing a little education every now and then. And I just have fun with it. That's what I want to do with these. And I appreciate you subbing. And if y'all like the content, I have been trying to grow my X presence. So if you like what I'm putting out there, give me a follow on X. My handle's in the description. It's the swinging bull _1. Matter of fact, I'll throw it in the comments real quick. Let's see. Oh, let me go to my profile. But yeah, it's been a little bit over an hour. Let me post that in here. There's my X handle if anyone wants to give me a follow. And I did start a $2,500 account challenge about 3 weeks ago. I know there's some people that'll probably be interested in that. It's going fantastic. We've had 5 trades already on the account challenge, and we've had 5 winners. I'm 5 for 5 on that challenge. So I'm on my X account. That's where I'm posting the trades and the updates and the progress. So if you want to follow that account challenge, just give me a follow on X and you'll see it. Okay, Paul, I like the picks you got there. Obviously, PLTR was a huge winner over the years. Same with NVIDIA and Tesla. I think Tesla's got a lot more upside. I really do. You know, they're like the whole autonomous that they're involved in, the whole autonomous type stuff that they're doing. I mean, I think Tesla's got a lot of upside. All right, so yeah, that's really all I got for today. It's been about an hour. It was awesome hanging out with everyone. I actually got a chance to meet some new people. My buddy Dan on YouTube, Paul, Nathan. I see y'all. I appreciate the engagement. LC, EF, Taco Friday, love the name. William Castro. We had a ton of people chatting today. Martin Howard, Shy, I am not. Sean on YouTube, just giving some shout outs here. I love y'all to death because I appreciate y'all coming to hang out. Yair Abacassis on YouTube, shout out to you. My buddy Geoff Lovelace. We had a ton of people hanging out today. So today's Thursday, so this is the last one stream of the week. But again, I do that every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So mark your calendars, and we always have a lot of fun, and we go over some really quality content. I think can help a lot of people. You know, I've been trading for about 10 years now, so this isn't, you know, I've got a lot of experience, and I love to share it with everybody. All right, but love y'all to death. I hope y'all enjoyed. Again, my name's the Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. Hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their night. And until then, I'll see everyone in the very next stream. Cheers.